Is there a single person on planet Earth that loves their mom more than Quavo does, or the Migos in general?
Adriel Smiley, I would put in that category. But
like they have their own ad-lib. Mama!
No. I felt bad about not liking this song because I love my mother so much. Good afternoon, beautiful people. This is another episode of Album Mode. We review a new album every single week. We look at the lyrics, the production, the overall aesthetic of that album, and how the album fits into the context of that artist's career. For all our people on YouTube, make sure you like this video, share, comment, and subscribe. We're on the way to 5,000 subscribers. Please help us get there. My name is Adriel Smiley, a.k.a. AdrielSmiley.com, a.k.a. Adriel Smiley Official, a.k.a. The Godfather. And we are here with, back with finally being crowned properly, King Grant.
What's up, people? I'm not going to wear the entire
It's looking like Princess Diaries.
But what's up, people? We're back. I am finally, this is me with the official crown for King Grant.
Mm-hmm.
We're back. We're doing a review on Quavo and Rocket Power.
Mm-hmm.
His album Rocket Power. I think that this is one of those albums that I've actually been looking forward to regarding Quavo, just because I think since the beginning, or not since the beginning, but since Migos broke out,
mm-hmm.
everybody was like, "Oh, who's gonna be the number one? Who's gonna be the person to go solo?" Blah 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 blah. And it had always been Quavo. We had always said that. That was like that. That seems as though
that was the consensus.
Yeah,
from the beginning.
It's like Quavo is gonna be the breakout because he's doing a million features and stuff like that. So, anytime there's a solo drop from one of these artists in the Migos, I've always been. I actually do pay attention to it a lot just to see. I'm like, who wants to become Beyonce?
Yes.
Who's Beyonce? I gotta see who it is.
Yeah, the Migos, a legendary group. Like, they're broken up now. May never get them again. Actually, we'll never get them again because Takeoff is not here.
Yeah.
But legendary group. He had his run, like you said, around the SoundCloud era, where he was eating up those features. He had the Post Malone feature, some big Travis Scott features, 2 Chainz. So it seemed like Quavo was going to be the guy. And then they kind of dipped a little bit. They had the high of Culture 1, Culture 2, Culture 3 is where it died down a little bit. And then they all put out solo projects. So they did this, before they broke up, if anyone kind of... And I think people forget about solo projects. I want to bring that up because people forget that they all had solo projects in the midst of them all kind of at their peak.
Yep.
And a lot of people talking about this project were kind of like, what are we going to hear from Quavo on a solo project? This is now the 4th project Quavo has had outside of the Migos.
Yeah.
So this is not new territory for him. He's done this a few times. His first project with the Migos was Jack Huncho.
Yep.
With Travis Scott in 2017.
It was okay.
It was okay project. There was
Black and Chinese was good.
Yeah. There were some bangers on there.
Yeah.
But I would say that was, Travis Scott coming into Quavo's world and kind of saving him on a couple songs. But that was the era where we had the 21 Savage and Offset project.
Yeah. Without Warning, that was hard.
I think that was better out of these two.
Significantly.
And then, his solo project in 2018, Quavo Huncho, I would say probably the worst out of all their solo projects.
Maybe.
Pretty easily. I think Offset had the best project.
He did.
And then I would say Takeoff is number 2. But I had this probably one of the first things I wrote in my notes was I never thought Quavo could rap.
Okay.
From the beginning, even at his peak, I always was like, his actual skill of rapping is very dubious. I love the sauce he has to disguise it, and now, we just are used to it.
Right.
But in terms of one, and I guess it happened once I realized that Takeoff and Offset could rap.
Okay.
At first I was, calling them mumble rap. I was a hater. At first. And then once I got on and realized, these guys are spitting,
right,
it became very clear who wasn't spitting.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of my entry into this project, because as much as Quavo has been the star, we all were there for that era, his work aside from the Migos hasn't been great. And in terms of actual quality of rapping, is at the bottom of that list.
Okay, well, I think for rolling up to Rocket Power, it's funny that you said that Quavo was the worst rapper. I think that he was the best feature, though. And I feel like he's the person that, all the hooks and stuff like that for...
I think he was. I think that stopped at some point. I think for the most part he was, but then there was like a turning point where Offset became the better feature.
Right. Yeah, there is, yes, I agree. But for the predominant amount of time, I think it was Quavo had the best feature. Everybody wanted him to do their hook for their track. I vividly, like, Pretty Girls Like Love Trap Music. Like, just having like Quavo on, what was it? It was like Big Doors, Hard Knocks, something like that.
Yeah. That song.
Yeah. So it's funny that you said he's like the worst rapper. I'm like, everybody wanted him though. Everybody wanted him on his track. So I'm like, it doesn't even matter if you're the worst rapper. But leading up to this, basically, I've been thinking about whether or not, since the Migos broke up and now Takeoff is deceased, rest in peace, whether or what that really means for the group. Because that means when they were broken up, I was like, they're broken up, but like not really, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
but
like, it will last.
Yeah, but now one of them is dead, so like it's over. You know, it's over. So I've been trying to figure out, okay, so what does that mean going forward? Do they stop completely? Are they gonna drop more music? Is there gonna be a Quavo and just Offset type of project and start doing that? So that's where I was leading up until this, right? That's why I was really curious about Rocket Power overall. It has great album art, by the way. Like, it's album art you cannot not look at. Like, you have to look at it every time.
It's eye catching for sure. I mentioned to talk about that later on. You mentioned it on the opening of like who's going to be the Beyonce from this group, who's going to be the Timberlake from this group. Very interested to talk about that a little bit later. But you talked about how we're never going to get the Migos again.
Yeah,
that's a good place to start with Takeoff's death. Clear surprise to a bunch of us. Quavo was actually there when it happened, which I think is a big part of this project and Takeoff being all over it. Now, him and Offset were beefing before that had happened.
Yeah.
So we had that moment at the BET Awards. They came together, performed. That was really nice. But Quavo and Takeoff put out their own album, Only Built for Infinity Links. Oh, yeah. I think it was 2022, October 2022. So they're already headed in this direction. No, the Migos were already broken up, and we kind of didn't believe it. But I guess from the music getting from Quavo and Takeoff, we could say, yeah, they're broken up. It's as official as it gets. He had 2 singles from this project, and Quavo had a...
This project has singles?
This is where I'm getting to.
Okay.
It's like... Quavo was the guy. Like, if you saw Quavo on a feature, you run into that feature, but I got to hear that. Like, that was like, I remember when Quavo did that song on Party Next Door, and I was like, finally, let's so to see that his features, one, were not really like noticeable from this project and not big, I thought that he would have a huge career just based off of like he was such a good singles artist. He would have such good singles on his own. No one could stop him. Greatness was one of them. That song came out, I think 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay.
But that was one of the first singles. And then the other one, Turn Your Click Up.
Okay.
With Future. Is there a different song that you would choose for a single here?
No, because you know what I was thinking about? To be honest with you, when I listened to this multiple times, I'm like, Turn Your Click Up is the best track on this thing.
Wow. That's very interesting.
I think it's the best track on this thing. Rocket Power, and I think that it stands out. It's so different than everything else, I think. So, first of all, I didn't even realize there were singles. Yeah. I don't know what happened, what was going on during that time. I mean, there's been a lot of music and a lot of singles and stuff that have come out, so I feel like it got buried.
Yeah.
But Turn Your Click Up, that's my shit right there. Maybe we could have done a little sneaky Stain, a little sneaky Stain with its little Kylie Minogue sample that's happening right there. I think that would have been an interesting one. But other than that, nah, man, those are the samples. Which one do you think is, or my samples, the singles? Which one do you think is? What do you think is the best song?
Personally,
yeah,
I think the best song, for me, is probably "Hold Me."
Okay.
Yeah.
Or I feel like I heard "Hold Me."
I don't
somewhere else before.
Listen, spoiler alert, I don't love this album. So the best song is immaterial at this point.
Okay. Oh.
But I think Back Where It Begins could have been a single. Because you hear it on Patty Cake at the beginning. Takeoff, his presence on a song is such a different ball game than Quavo's.
Right.
And Quavo, I gotta respect him. He has the energy. He has the effort. But it's kind of like that player who like tries really hard, but they don't have no bag. It's not smooth. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we get it. OG is really hustling.
Yeah.
But his game is not as smooth as Kelly Oubre, who's maybe not as good.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what you see on this project. So that being the single with Takeoff and Future, those guys are more smooth and have more of a presence than Quavo does.
Okay.
So that could have been a big help for him.
I'm surprised by this.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Here's the thing. I have two sections in this in my review here.
Yeah.
And I actually made myself laugh because basically this project is songs I don't care for, or songs that I will straight up skip, or songs that I won't skip.
Wow.
There's no songs I love. There's no songs I hate. It's just songs that either I'll skip or I won't skip, or songs that I'm like, who cares?
Yeah, I would definitely say that Quavo's presence is not authoritative.
No.
Right? If he's on a song, like when he makes a song, like first of all, if we're like, oh, Quavo just dropped a like new song solo, I don't think that he really has that draw in the sense that he's like, oh, we gotta go hear the Quavo track.
Yeah.
Like Quavo featured on something, we're like, oh, there's like a sick Quavo feature.
He doesn't have the gravitas.
Yeah, so he's lacking gravitas, right? And then overall, I just think his vocals are more akin to like a T-Pain or like a Don Toliver, where it's I would say the vocals are just because like his auto-tunes like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think he doesn't have the presence that those two do, and he definitely is not a hit maker like those two are.
And I think too, you mentioned the guys compared to T-Pain, Don Toliver. I think the difference with his voice is that his voice is not like the highlight of the song. Right. You know, I think it's similar in the like auto-tune way. I think someone like Charlie Wilson. Charlie Wilson could just be the sample like on Don Toliver's album, and we're like, yep. Best part of the song, you know, like T-Pain could have 2 lines. Yeah, best part of the song. Quavo has not tapped into that quality yet.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like I think his biggest problem overall as an artist. But that's kind of part of why Migos worked. I think when I think about Migos overall with them three, they're kind of like components, right? That you would plug into a track, and I think that Migos in general was like some greater than its parts, right? And I know, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. So I was like, groups where it's typically like a sum greater than its parts, actually kind of don't work when they split up because they're together. They equaled something that they cannot do on their own. Yeah, do on their own, right? When you think about somebody like Odd Future. The group wasn't really as good as when they all split up. Yeah. Right? And that was actually kind of obvious very early too. And then the same thing with like Destiny's Child. Yep. Right? Where it's like, okay, it was like solid. They had some good songs, a lot of good songs. But then when we see Beyonce split up and come around, we're like, yo, Beyonce she's just out here, bro.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, is it right? So there's that element. I think that when you hear them together on tracks, it just like, it's almost like puppies jumping over each other. Like they form this big blob that's constantly moving. But when it's them by themselves, like a puppy by themselves, you're like kind of look a little bit lost and a little vulnerable and kind of don't know what to do. And I think that's carried, right? Especially for Quavo, because he is the weakest rapper, technical rapper, weakest technical rapper of the bunch. It kind of hurts him when he's isolated on his own, because then it seems as though, because with the other features, that if he pulls other people in, I'm like, now we're getting back to what's really the action here. So that's what it seems like at the beginning.
I want to talk about production and some of the things I liked, because there's not that many of them.
Yo, this is the first. The shoe is on the other foot today, because I feel like I'm usually the first one. I'm like, this is not it, my guy.
This is. You know the thing I thought about this project, and Quavo is in a tough spot because not only did like his family member pass in a public way that everyone's aware of, he was there for when it happened, and it's like involved in this whole beef they have like as a group. When it's like, when I hear Quavo, he should go the old school Travis Scott route, the old school Ty Dolla $ign route, where it's 18 songs, 15 of them are features.
Okay.
That's what a Quavo album should be like.
Right.
This album is very much the opposite.
Right.
And so it's like you see these moments where it's like this is kind of a lack of self-awareness in a sense where, he feels like he can carry songs more than he actually can. Greatness.
Yep.
I remember when that came out, people were really excited about that. It was a little different from what they heard from him.
Yeah.
More rappy for Quavo.
Yeah. Also has like reggae style production.
Yeah, it's very summer.
Yeah.
Very summer. That I thought if he had more of that on this project, that could have been a whole different energy.
Mm-hmm.
But again, happy that's out there. Highlight other project. Two songs I want to highlight that are lowlights.
Okay.
Is Mama Told Me.
Really?
Yeah. Mama Told Me is just like, oh my goodness.
Is there a single person on planet Earth that loves their mom more than Quavo does? Or the Migos in general?
Adriel Smiley, I would put in that category. But
like they have their own ad-lib. Mama!
No. I felt bad about not liking this song because I love my mother so much. But this song is so elementary. Like, so elementary, such struggle raps. And the actual production of the song, he does a lot where there's like a bit of an intro with giving it more of a theatrical feel that, is not necessarily all the time done in trap music, which is like, they've been in the game for a while. They've been like pop stars, so you would think they would have kind of that extra element in their music. But they add that like, I don't know, dramatic feel. Even the beginning where he's like, Mama. But it doesn't always hit. Right. And then when the beat drops, it's like you did all that build up for this to be the beat that drops. That's what I feel like when Mama Told Me. And then Who With Me? Who With Me? I'm going to hide the lyrics a little bit later, but Who With Me is a song that I'm like afraid of Quavo making. Like,
what does that mean? Tell me what that means. Tell me more about what that means.
Just because it's like, this is the whole song is basically stuff he said before. Like probably every line of this song is like a bar he's said before, and is like this is the epitome of like dudes who don't write. You know what I mean? Okay. Like for the old head who's gonna say hip hop is whack now, it's in a crazy place. The Migos were a huge part of that conversation when they came up. The Migos and Lil Yachty, like Quality Control had it on lock in terms of people hating the young rap. Who With Me? When you hear that song, if you're like a old school hip hop head, an old school hip hop fan, I just can't understand you hearing this and being like, we're in a good place right now, And the production, it's I don't want to say it's lazy or boring, but it's
lazy and boring.
It's flat.
Okay,
it's flat. It's like I understand what the point is. I understand what you're trying to do here, but I just do not see someone putting the song on to get hype. For any reason. Like I feel like if you're going to get hype, there are hundreds of better songs to choose from that are of the same ilk. So it's like this is really the bad version of a tight beat. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Okay, I got you.
This is like you search on YouTube, it's a tight beat, and everyone in the comments hates it. That's what this is.
Okay. Yeah, I think that a lot. I do think a lot of the project or Rocket Power is let's say underpowered. There's a lot of sequences where the songs are either really skippable or they're, I feel like, generic, like 11:11. Tell me that's not a Lil Baby / Gunna beat, like straight up, I think that there's a lot of tracks like that. You already mentioned some. But I would say there are some good parts, okay? We're here bringing all the negativity. Let me at least give it some balance. I think that...
We'll see.
I do think the one with Future, Turn Your Click Up, that synth leads the entire track. The entire song is organized around the synth. So I like the short verses or the short lyrics that come out of Quavo at the beginning.
You know what would make that song so much better?
What?
If it was just Future.
I don't think so. I think Quavo was doing legitimate things.
I thought that when the song was a single, then once I heard it on the album, I was like, whoa, this song was actually not good until Future arrives.
Oh my God. I think he's doing legitimate things, right? I think the brisk bars, right? They're short and sweet and they work. And again, they are encased around that synth. That
that synth carries for sure.
Right? I think it does. No, it does. That synth carries, right? But then there's the second, this is kind of like a lyric part, but when Future is like, this one section where he's like, let me put on my poetic voice. Shit, I'm thinking I could have been a pimp. Shit, I'm cooking up dope like it's dinner. Shit, I come from Zone 6 nigga trim. Shit, I'm floating. I'm higher than a blimp. And then shit, I'm looking like I'm swimming in glass. Right, that shit. But he doesn't like. What's the name of that? Yeah. He doesn't like The Wire, the police officer in The Wire. He's like, shit.
Yeah. Oh, I don't remember which cop it is, but I know what you're talking about.
Right. So I think that part is probably like the highlight. That might be the highlight of the album.
Might be, honestly.
That section is, but it's really good. And it's also falling into the section of Future where Future, I feel like, does his best work in his features instead of actually on his albums.
I agree with that too.
And I feel like he needs to just take all of the energy that goes into the feature, just redirect it into the new projects. Because there's songs like this, and then there's like Into Deep, his feature was awesome. And then that's the track he has with Nav. Right? Any track he has with Nav.
Yeah.
I feel like he's just in his bag. That's when he first started really doing like the whistle.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, Future, I know you're listening to this. Okay? Take the feature energy and put that into the solo projects. I feel like it'd be good for you. But yeah, so there's problems. But Turn Your Click Up, good. Greatness, I think, is good too. I think Rocket Power is also a solid track. I think that the production for that is a little bit more, I want to say, unorthodox, especially for a Quavo.
For Rocket Power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more, especially for a Quavo track, it's unorthodox to have like a kind of like a electro guitar leading it, but it sounds like almost industrial. So I think it's working in senses. And also that song sounds a little bit like Search and Rescue by Drake. The flow is very Search and Rescue.
And the melody in the background kind of like behind. Yeah, it is giving Search and Rescue. You know what it reminds me? It reminds me of when QC used to put out those like compilation tapes. I don't know if you remember those.
Wait, who?
QC, the Quality Control.
Oh yeah.
This would have been one of those on there. Maybe not by Quavo or by the Migos.
Yeah,
might be like a little baby or something on there. But this reminds me of one of those.
So yeah, the flow on that, the flow for that, is very Search and Rescue. So I
can't unhear it now.
Make sure you
mommy.
Yeah, make sure you put that in for the audio version. But so I noticed that like right away. And then my last production thing that I want to mention, because you kind of just went off and just destroyed our man Quavo here, is which is the song that I said that has the Kylie Minogue thing on it? Stain. Sorry. That's a good Kylie Minogue feature. That, that la 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 la. It's like I Can't Get You Out of Your Head, out of my head. That track. I believe that's the sample. I haven't looked it up because it seems so obvious to me.
Yeah, I'm assuming it is too.
Right, but that C sample feature is awesome, and a little bit, again, out of the box for Quavo because he's almost like strictly a trap dude, right? So to have a disco pop type of sample, I'm gonna give him credit. Okay, I'm gonna give him this credit where credit is due.
Some of these songs are still not good. Like,
you don't think it's good? You don't think it's good? Seriously?
Stain was the first song I put on my like skip list.
Wow.
Stain is the number one song on that list.
I'm actually surprised by that.
I think a lot of these songs, the production is decent, but I'm not just like listening to that sort of production.
You don't love his you don't love his one word hook? Stain?
Quavo is enough of a presence on these songs that you can't ignore him being there. No, we talked about artists who like that's part of their appeal. Yeah, it's like you can kind of like ignore their voice on the track and just vibe out. Yeah, I think Quavo kind of prevents me from doing that. If Quavo had more of that energy, I'd stay in it all day. But I just think that he doesn't, make room for you to kind of just ignore him on a song. And when you listen to him rapping or singing, whatever you call what he does,
crooning,
sure. Whatever you listen to that, it's like it kind of takes away from the beat being good, the sauce being good. Because Stain, I think, is again one where let Quavo just have a part of it. I think about Raph with ASAP, Frank Ocean. Quavo's part in Raph, everyone loves that. Yeah, so smooth. Just give him 8. He don't need more than that. You know what I'm saying? turn your click up. Just give him the chorus. Give him the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
He can handle that. And I think Quavo hasn't lost that, I think, talent of like having good hooks, having some sticky bridges. I don't think he's lost that talent. I just think that the whole structure of a song is something where he lacks.
Right.
I think that, when someone else is in charge of that and they say Quavo come in here, different story.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put Quavo in charge of that, it doesn't usually go well.
Okay.
Who With Me is what I wanted to highlight for lyrics.
Okay.
And this is, I guess, my kind of beef with trap rap in a sense, is that it can get very generic very quickly.
Yeah.
And Quavo is, he's just holding that torch high. Like,
okay.
And in the first verse of this, what the words he's actually rapping, I called it elementary earlier. This is literally elementary. I'm gonna read the words that are rhyming before I even read the actual lyrics, and it sounds like an elementary school kid freestyling for the first time. He rhymes attack with back with rat, and then rhymes trap with the back with pack. That's.
Why are you looking at me like that? Don't look at me like that. I'm not the person who did this.
And it's like, it's to me, it's hard to defend him because trap rap doesn't have to be that simple. Like his partner in crime, Takeoff, rest in peace, was not that at all. Even the Takeoff's solo album, that's not who Takeoff's been. Takeoff might not be saying profound things and thinking about the political climate like Jaden Smith.
Yeah.
But he's at least being clever in the way that he raps and the way he puts words together. So that is where I lose it with Quavo. Now on Who With Me, in verse 1, he says, I can pull up, I'm ready to attack. I'm going to get my lick back. I'm not going to rat. You can take me way back to the trap. I'm going to go get it back. I'm going to send me a pack. I'm done. Took me a rich nigga nap. In the back of the Maybach, I'm ready for action. Fuck it. I hop in the Demon. I'm pushing the gas. I turn off the traction. Démar, you tell me you couldn't write that? Like, that is my issue. I don't want to hear a rapper and think to myself who doesn't rap, I could write that. And that's what this sounds like to me. And it's like the energy he's saying it with, he's rapping it as if it's bars, but it's like Quavo is, this is his 4th album away from the Migos. The Migos have 3 major albums and how many mixtapes? This is what, project 10 for Quavo?
Yeah.
How is your 10th project and this is what you're coming up with?
But the thing is, the reason why it's like that, or part of the reason why it's like that, is because Quavo was the hook master. He was the chorus. He was the person that was making it catchy when they were as a group, when Migos was a group. So that's why I said the puppy analogy.
But he was always
But he wasn't that strong of a rapper though. That's why when we were talking about his features, like his features weren't like the rappity rap feature.
No, he was always a weak rapper. Like that's not without question.
Yeah.
But I would assume for him to get better.
Oh, okay.
They also had 2-3 years when Offset was locked up before Bad and Bougie. People forget about that. So it really was just him and Takeoff, and like they have songs like Fight Night, Handsome and Wealthy from that time, which are big songs. Where it's like you think he would have gotten better. So it's like, yeah, he's never been the rapper guy, and I don't expect him ever to be the rapper guy. But I expect him to get better, as he ages, as he's rapping more. That's what I would expect. But maybe I'm asking too much.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think for me, I mentioned my lyrics. I sprinkled it in with the production because you were going ham. you were going ham on his production. So I think that that's that's pretty much what I have with Quavo. Like some of the flows are cool. That's the end of the story. That's the end of the story. Like some of the flows are cool.
Wow.
You would never. I mean, I don't think there will ever really be a time where you're like bars when Quavo says something. But you'll be like, oh, that sounded sick. Like, turn your click up. I think that was sick. I think that the back half with like, Not Done Yet and Rocket Power, I think those are like, I'm okay on that. I think his singing, dicey. Not Done Yet. The singing, I'll give you the lyrics part just specifically, where he's like, he's not done with me. He's not done with it. Here we go. I flew around the world and turned out to be what they said I couldn't be. I made I made a name for myself and lived out my dreams. They said I couldn't reach. And I'm not done yet. Straight from the bottoms. So it's rough. And the singing is rough because in the audio version of the pod, you'll hear the singing and it's not very good.
Do you have anything else for lyrics?
No, but I wanted to point out that it's also very simple in when it comes to the lyrics when he's singing, that I just said. No, I think that's Quavo's easily weakest spot of his music. So it's gonna be hard to survive that.
I think I'm at a place with Quavo where I'm about to stop expecting more.
Okay.
Right now, I still expect more because I think he's in his early 30s.
Okay.
I'm at the point where I still am expecting more because I've seen what he's done. I think about, Pick Up the Phone, which, was a big moment, memorable song. And his part was everyone's favorite part of the song on a song with Travis Scott and Young Thug. So I've seen what he can do in the moments he can have and how good he can be, but I'm this close to stop expecting more from him. In terms of how this affects his career, I think this is definitely like a step back.
Oh, you think so?
And I'll say for two reasons. I think that this weekend, obviously we were both preoccupied this weekend in different ways, but in terms of like from the trap rap, culture era, this was not the number one project. It was ESTG's project. Right. And ESTG, of course, is still a new artist to some degree, but for Quavo having the first project after losing Takeoff, for this not to be the everything of what was going on this weekend in music, that says something. And so I think that there wasn't that big single, which usually is part of it, but I do think that people have kind of moved on from Quavo as part of their Migos fandom. I think Offset will have to deal with that on his own in a few months when he drops. But I think in terms of people treating Quavo with the same love they treated the Migos as, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Offset is also just more famous than Quavo at this point. I think that hit Offset being with Cardi B, even though Cardi B hasn't dropped an album since Invasion of Privacy,
but she be dropping those verses though.
Yes, she does. She's
riding with my twin. Sorry.
Yeah, she's hard. She's going hard on the verses, and she's also hot on Instagram, and Twitter. I feel like she's just good on social overall.
Yes,
but regardless. Offset is more famous than Quavo at this point, and I think Offset is a better rapper, technical rapper. At this point.
Yes.
And the Quavo feature does not really hold the same weight that it once did in the 2010s.
Facts.
And I think if the Offset album isn't decent, I think we're gonna have to pack it up when it comes to Migos.
Oh yeah. The Offset is their last hurrah.
I think we might have to pack it up because this is I think we talked about this throughout the previous reviews. I'm Migos is 2010s. This is a 2010s group.
Yep, and we're in the 2020s now.
Yeah. They defined the 2010s though. The triplet flow, the Bad and Bougie, stuff like that. They were a definitive part of the 2010s.
Yes.
But sometimes you gotta hang it up. Versace was dope. Bad and Bougie was dope.
Ooh, that hurts.
Fight Night was sick.
Yeah,
Hannah Montana was awesome. That's a future song.
And Hannah Montana is Migos too. Hannah Montana's Migos.
Yeah.
What I think this really does for Quavo specifically in his career is I think this kind of forces a pivot. I think that whatever it is we want him to do next, whatever new sound we think he should try, I said, this should be more of a feature-based album than it is.
Dollar Sign type.
Yeah, I think this forces that for him because Quavo's in a spot now, and I've mentioned it a bunch of times on this podcast, where Quavo is unequivocally famous.
Yeah.
Especially in that part of the culture. Flop or not, that he can't get around that. If anywhere he goes with anyone, he'll still be one of the biggest names in the room.
Right.
And that is almost a curse when your music is flopping. And Quavo's definitely an outside guy. He's been less outside over the past year or so, obviously because he's going through something. But Quavo was always one of those people I never followed Quavo a day in my life, but I would see him on my timeline once a week at a car show with
Yeah,
Lil
or a
Durk,
red
with Lil
carpet
Baby,
or something like that.
as something.
Yeah.
So he still has that glow to him just as a celebrity.
Mhm.
But I think, as his music is fading, that's going to be a little different kind of energy. And I'm interested to see how that goes for him because maybe he's a legacy act at this point. If Quavo tours, Quavo can do all Migos songs
Right.
and everyone will be happy.
Yeah.
They're a legacy act at this point. But how much does he want to have the second act of his career? How much is he willing to pivot? How much is he willing to change? Because this is clear, he can't do this again. He can't
And you know
do
what?
this again.
Even just to bring up another track that's in the album, Galaxy,
Yes.
where it was a little bit more Afrobeatsy. Pianos were a little bit more moody. Didn't really work out. I think that the production is good, but I think that his auto-tune voice is not really working in that setting for him.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's like I don't want to say it's over. I don't like saying that it's over.
I don't want to say it's over either because I think it's not over regardless because he's still Quavo.
Yeah.
But how much the Migos mean to the culture,
Mm-hmm.
the past 15 years of what hip hop has been, you can't just get rid of them.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Yeah.
But
Cultural relevance is probably going to wane, I think.
yeah.
But so I think I agree that it's a step back. I don't know if it's
It's a step back. It's a step back.
It's a step back.
I think his last solo album being subpar went under the radar because it had some viral moments.
Yeah.
There's a Drake feature on it.
Yeah,
There's a couple big songs. But
Yeah. So sad times for Quavo. Sad times for Migos. The album art, though.
yeah.
Tell me about the album. The album art. I honestly love it personally.
I think it's really cool. The only thing I would say is that you can't automatically tell that it's Quavo.
Mm-hmm.
I think like if you're looking from far away, like the person who it is not as defined, and it's not even as defined what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But really good project. I think that's Quavo's chain, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So kind of paying homage to Quavo. I wish the name of the project was more easy to see because I feel like if you don't know this project or you don't, host a phenomenal album review podcast, you're probably going to forget the name of this album.
Okay.
So that is the thing. But really, the colors, the kind of the sparkles, all the diamonds.
It looks awesome.
It looks really cool.
Yeah, and the blue and like purple hue, and it looks like the heat is like rising off of it and stuff like that. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
It actually looks incredible. I wish the music that was encased within matched it because that would have been lit.
Yeah. Is this a vinyl cop for you?
Unfortunately, no.
I'm so surprised.
Unfortunately, no.
I had no idea. Did not see that coming.
Sometimes people are borderline, or it's a hard decision, or it's like an emphatic yes. I'm going to say this, not an emphatic no, but a confident one. A confident no for the vinyl.
Yeah, it's also a no for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't. This album is not good.
Okay, wow.
So
the Fantano, not good.
This album is not good. So getting this on vinyl, as good as the cover is, getting this on vinyl is like, a form of self-harm.
Okay, well, that's serious. Tell me about your score then. If you feel that serious about it, what's the score then?
I want to give this a higher score out of some respect for the culture and the history of hip hop and what Quavo means to hip hop. That's not what we do here. Okay. This is just about the album. This to me is a 3.5.
Woo! Oh.
Yeah, I this is a 3.5 for me. And I'll say 3.5 feels generous because I don't even know how many songs on here I'm gonna come back to. I think I have my own specific taste. I do not always like the big song or stuff like that, But I think this is an album that is gonna 100% age poorly. Like Quavo's Rocket Power, hearing this 18 months from now, like just picture how that's gonna sound in your ears. You're like, oh, I haven't heard this in a while. And you go back to it and you're like, yeah, it's for a reason.
This is why I have not heard this in a while.
Yeah, so for me, this is a 3.5. There's sprinkles of good production.
Yeah.
There are some good moments. Greatness. The Future feature, the song with Takeoff and Future. But there's just way too many misses on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, way too many misses on here.
Okay. I'm going to put this at a 4, which is only a tick up from your 3.5, but it's not at, you were coming off the top rope crazy.
Yeah, we're at the same place.
Yeah, but you were coming off the top rope crazy. I was giving pluses just to reinforce that it wasn't garbage. Okay.
You ran over with the chair. You didn't throw the first punch?
Yeah, I'm like,
but you ran over with the folding chair.
It's not very good, but you know, there are good parts.
Yeah.
These are the good parts.
Yes.
But yeah, I think Quavo is not that as good as a rapper. He just isn't. I think his singing is subpar, like I mentioned on Galaxy. And I think that if he's not trying to make the hook or make it catchy, it's just not working overall for him. Like you mentioned the elementary raps.
Yeah.
The production style is good at sometimes, but again, there's your Galaxies, there's your 1111s, Wall to Wall, I think, is also another one that I don't really like at all. So, and there's like even the generic one.
Oh my gosh. Wall to Wall.
Yeah. Wall to
Stupidest song. Like, stupidest song.
So there's that too. So it's not very good. It's not even, it's worse than mediocre for sure. Like, this is not good.
Yeah. This is kind of what I saw with the Migos early, why I didn't really believe in them at first, is that a group like the Migos has a hard time growing up in hip hop. You know, as you get older, as your audience changes, like when we were 21 and Bad and Bougie came out, Drop Top, all that was all you wanted to hear.
Yeah,
that was,
banger.
you know what I'm saying? Like Bitches and Diamonds, speak to us.
Versace.
You know, Versace, all of that.
Yeah.
Now, even as Migos fans, we're older. You know, we're more adult than we were 10 years ago. You know, more grown up. And for the fan base to kind of age more than the actual group themselves, the artists themselves,
Yeah.
bad news. So I feel like this is a clear sign of that, because we see a lot of older rappers make hype songs that don't have to sound as outdated or as, you know, played out as some of the stuff Quavo's doing.
The end is coming. The end is nigh for the Migos. And sometimes it's just like that. Sometimes eventually the sound passes you by, the crowd passes you by. The difference between like Amigos and like Drake, right, is that Drake still knows how to make a hit song.
Yes.
Right? So that allows him to still make music that I would say is similar, like thematically similar to when it was at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? So he can still capture younger people. But when Quavo and the rest of Migos can't really make that hit song anymore, then the only fans that they maintain are the people, the older fans. But you're not making music that is evolving enough to keep them engaged.
Yeah.
So then you're just like, there's just like a slow drip of fandom. Right? So that's it.
It's rough.
So it's a 4 out of 10, 3.5 out of 10.
We know what that's gonna look like.
It's tough out here.
Yeah, 100%. And not a stain, no pun intended, on Quavo's jacket. Even Muhammad Ali outstayed his welcome.
Yeah.
So nobody is perfect.
Yeah.
For all our beautiful people on YouTube, I think we need a name for our YouTube audience. I think I'm looking for that name in the comments. Let us know. Rihanna has the Navy.
Yes.
Nicki has the Barbs.
Yeah. New Jeans has bunnies.
The bunnies. Doja Cat has the kittens.
Yeah.
So
Doja Cat still has a name for a fandom. I thought that was like over.
I'm sure there's still kittens out there. People are crazy.
I thought Doja Cat was like, yeah, we're off that. Just totally. You guys are just people existing.
Let's hope so. But we need a name for y'all. But please, in the comments, let us know what's the name that we should have for the Album Mode fans. But of course, like this on YouTube, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you follow us on the interwebs, on Instagram at Album Mode Pod, on Twitter at Album Mode Pod, and on TikTok at Album Mode Pod. Of course, subscribe to us on all your podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and leave us a rating and a review. 5 stars, not a single star less. And of course, until next time, know yourself, know your worth.
Later, people.